everybody. Yeah, the case for third place, what they are and why we need them. I love the series of talks that happened today because I feel like they're all interconnected in some way. So I hate that I can't see you all. I guess putting on my glasses would help, but this bright light is making it difficult. Anyway, so let's start with definition. Third place is a sociological term that was coined in the 80s, but the concept of a third place has existed without that name since humans have existed. Basically, it's just the spots between work and home that anchor us into our communities where we build relationships, build movements, and one of my favorite concise ways of describing it is just the living room of society at large. So, the problem is, for a long time now, decades, we've been seeing a steady decline in social connection across all aspects, whether it's at the home, outside of the home. It's going down, and inversely, on the top left corner, you can see that the feelings of social isolation are going up. And the problem with that is that it's come to find out that this is actually a critical issue for our well-being as individuals and as society across the globe. Like literally every aspect is affected negatively by a decrease in quality social connection because we're social creatures. So much so that the U.S. Surgeon General has declared it an epidemic of disconnection in our society. A few stats I pulled out of the report on there, some of these are a few years old, but for instance, the number of single-person households is up to 29%. I'm one of those people. Social trust, and I think the stat was from 2016, so we all know it's got worse since then. But 30% in 2016 could say they could generally trust their average neighbor or community member. And then also a little outdated by a handful of years, so probably worse, digital reliance and active participation on social media is 8% compared with 5% in 2005. And we'll talk more about diminishing returns on that topic later. And then a 16% community involvement. And that's related to the more formal, traditional places that we think of like religious institutions and sports leagues, volunteer engagement, etc. So, in addition to these already poor stats on connection, we're seeing a decline in places to connect, public and private. There's several reasons why. I don't think we really need to talk about too much about COVID-19. Obviously, a lot of us lost a lot of our favorite spots, small businesses, neighborhood businesses that never came back from that. Digital disconnection. Again, there's a point of diminishing returns on our use of social media that ironically was a tool that was supposed to bring us together, is actually driving us further apart, but also increasing feelings of isolation. And then, of course, we have the rising cost of real estate and gentrification. I don't need to give you that lecture. Taylor did a fantabulous job, but the fact is, if we can't even keep a roof over our head, how are we supposed to be starting these places, giving into these places, and keeping them alive? Big box stores, chains, Family Dollars, all of that, like, it's not helping. And then, of course, on the other side of that is suburbia and failures of infrastructure and zoning. So we create a situation where people have to hop in their cars, if they have them, to get anywhere. Alternatives to transportation, like public transport and biking and otherwise, are trash in most cities like they are in Louisville. And zoning failures, which make it so that commercial and mixed-use areas don't really exist like they do in a lot of larger cities that keep your local bodega close by, your local hub close by, whatever. Everybody's driving everywhere if they can. And then, of course, all of this has a cyclical nature to it in that if you can't access some of these places to connect and tap into your community, then you're missing out on opportunities to expand yourself, and then you maintain your brokenness, and then your brokenness makes it so you gotta work more, and then as you work more, then you don't got time to go nowhere, and so it just keeps going and going. Now, if your algorithm is anything like mine, in recent history, thank you, I believe that the giant stop that I read over. Okay. If your algorithm looks anything like mine, you've seen an uptick in these types of memes going on. Everybody's saying things like, I don't want to be outside anymore, I want to stay inside in the bed, whatever. And don't get me wrong, I relate to a lot of these as well. But when you look at these, you kind of think, okay, since we're all feeling this way, even a lot of my more introverted friends, what's wrong with living in our Golemy, Smiggly, sorry, not that kind of nerd, I don't remember what she is there, but what's wrong with keeping up this habit? What's wrong with it? If we all seem to be doing all right, well, we're not doing all right. It's actually impacting us negatively on every aspect of our health, from the physical to the mental to the social. And this, again, has been proven time and time again to be as essential, right up there behind food, water, shelter. Next thing, we're human creatures, we're social creatures, we need each other. And so the next couple of slides, I'm not going to read through all this. Vaughn told me these slides, they don't want to kill himself, but I broke down like 80 pages of research into a few highlights just because I thought some of these numbers were particularly astounding. The effects of significant social isolation have been shown to be as negative as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. They increase dementia risk by 50%. Generally all causes of death, from cardiovascular things to cancer, you name it, are increased. Obviously, the mental conditions, like men being more than twice as likely to commit suicide when they're isolated, and the list goes on. And then, again, we have on the corner the ongoing social impacts of that cycle. And then, if the individuals aren't well and met at their basic needs, our communities can't be well. And so we see this snowballing into an effect of these long-standing systemic disinvestments. Well, yes, obviously systemic racism exists. Yes, capitalism in its late stage and all its horrors exists. But if we can't even be together and supporting one another in our direct communities, it's only adding fuel to the fire. So everything across the board, I mean, literally there's a study, as Taylor said, I love that you said that. Like, I do love studies, but only because people never read. Okay, but yeah, across the board, it's shown to snowball and negatively affect our communities again and again and again. So, I know some of y'all in this round are introverts, and you're thinking, you're like checked out, you're like, well, whatever, this doesn't affect me, like, I'm fine, I'm in my bed now, I'll stay in my bed, I'll die in my bed. Like, I feel you, I'm an introvert too, but I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. You still need community, and you still need community outside your house, outside your workplace. For a lot of us that are privileged to have some remote jobs since the last 3 years, home and work have become smashed together completely. So while I have a couple of pictures over there socializing in some third places, I want to point your attention to, for the introverts, to the middle picture, which is just where it's a scene that you could find me at any given day of the week. Chilling by myself, but among people at a local third place. And when I've had those times that creep up on me where the darkness is settling in, shout out to my fellow depressed babies. Sometimes I go, I don't want to do shit, but I need to get out of this house. And so a healthy third place, you can come and be alone without being alone. And it's critical to our survival. Keep clicking it down. So anyway, some of the elements, and by all means this is not exhaustive, but to create a good third place, and these have been shown across the board to be effective time and time again, are the idea of neutral ground. So you ain't there because you have some sort of obligation to be there, or some sort of time that's forcing you to be there. They're a leveling place. Anybody from all walks of life, creeds and colors should be able to come in and feel like they're going to be met with community. Conversation and connection should be the main activity. We have enough spaces for us all to be staring into our glowing screens and ignoring each other. That's not what these places are about. Accessibility, and that's not just ADA things, but again, financially, transportation, etc. These places should not only be for people with able bodies, they have access to transportation and fat pockets. There should be a place for everyone. You need a good group of regulars to set the tone, but not in a way that establishes a clique nature that keeps people walking in feel like, oh, this place is already established, it's not my place, there's no place for me here. It needs to be accepting. Low profile, there's no room for pretentiousness in a quality third place. The mood is playful, and I have a mental asterisk on this one that's to say, if this is done right, in these spots, inevitably there's going to be a lot of social engagement, maybe an increase in civic engagement and activism and organizing. Great. But at the end of the day, I say the mood is playful because it should still be rooted in love, be rooted in joy, and rooted in compassion. And so we can't lose sight of that in a good third place. And all of these together, again, the living room of society, combines themselves to make these sorts of spots feel like a true home away from home. And so, again, like I said in the beginning, before the official term was created to define these things, they've existed everywhere, whether it be in barbershops, porch stoops, parks, you name it. I'm sure things will come to your mind throughout this talk. But they've been around since forever, and they're here to stay. If you need a little bit more inspiration, you can think about how often it's used as a trope in popular culture, in TV and film. These are places where people come together, they grow their character arcs as individuals, as a society, and where big changes happen. And I don't know, I get all sentimental when I think about some of these shows from the past. So, when all that kind of sad stuff aside, the inverse of all that, while by no means is a third place a cure-all for our ills of society, they do provide a lot of great benefits for the individual that ripple out to their communities. Again, they boost the social health of the entire community, increase the civic participation. They literally are shown to affect our physical health as well, and they encourage innovation. So when you bring more people together, ideas bouncing off one another, so many of the most greatest initiatives in the world started from the proverbial napkin, sitting in a spot, getting ideas off of one another, and sparking growth in that way. The same thing, the solutions that will help revive these places in our communities are in a direct opposition to the problems that are creating the diminishing availability. So zoning, we need to look into creating zoning that keeps our integrated mixed use communities in such a way that all kinds of properties can exist in cohesion with one another, and it doesn't require things like transportation. But if we must have transportation, good Lord, TARC is not working well enough. I'm a bus kid, not from here, and I don't know how people do it here. I had to do it when I first moved here because I didn't have a car, and it was horrible. Sorry. Infrastructure includes things like Wi-Fi. I know I just shit talk a little bit on the internet because there is diminishing returns, but it's 2023. Why don't all our public spaces, our parks, etc., have access hooked up to them? Why does somebody have to go into a library? There's some people who don't even feel comfortable going into a library. And if we improve this infrastructure all around, it'll provide more spaces for people to gather. And then design, that's a big can of worms about everything from, again, accessibility from a physical standpoint. But if you've been in any public park or other area recently, you'll probably notice that they're like not really designed to make people feel very comfortable, whether it's a bench that like, oh, you think you're gonna lounge that? No, you're not. They're not made for people to sit down and stay a while and commune with one another. Whereas third places encourage loitering. We want you to stick around and make those kismet connections with one another that you want to have otherwise. So, before I leave you all today, I do want to just have you sit and reflect within yourself of your current level of social connection and how you feel about it. Does it feel like it's adequate? And if not, like, how can you tap in or create this sort of space for yourself? And because this is about connection after all, who do you know that needs this too and that you can bring along with you to figure out a way to tap back into that connection? And lastly, wow, something we're having in PowerPoint, but alas. My name is Brittni Caudill, up there in the darkness of not where it was on my presentation. But you can connect with me on Instagram if you'd like, if you're passionate about some of these same things, or email me. I'd love to connect. And I actually have a project in the works inspired directly by this concept of third place, but I need community to gather us together and help me get things off the ground. So thank you, and shut up now.
Oh, then. The center word I'm looking to on here is that she never get played till like timer or something. But it's all good. Yeah.
Oh, it's on every movie now to go over. It's exactly 15 minutes. What's exactly 15 minutes?
So a part of my job with Nerd Night is to get the slides roughly about a week before. I know, right? Right, a week before. Yeah, all three, y'all. No, I got you, my bad. Yes, you did. Thank you. And I'm supposed to check for stuff like this. So that is my fault. Because the last time I looked at this slide, it actually was all on the card. And then like seeing this, I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Y'all some nerds for real.
No, real talk. So like, it was on there properly so you can see it, but at least you can see the at Brittni Caudill. And then the third place one, you can kind of see it, but you can't really see the email address. But yeah, does anybody have questions about third places, third spaces?
Yeah.
You tell us a little bit more about
Tell us more about third place books. What you talk about?
Yeah. Un poquito. Yes. It's been a lifelong dream because these sort of spaces literally saved my life as a kid, like I said, that was on the bus and didn't really have nowhere to go. And I'm really trying to start up a concept that's focused around literacy, a community, and social activism. But I've been working for almost a year now to find a physical space. I'm blessed enough to have a meager 401k from my day job that is my only source of funding for this. So with that said, I do insist on buying and ownership because I'm not trying to be pushed out by a raised rent price. And so it takes longer to get the brick and mortar through literally giving everything I have to it. So be it. But in the meantime, what I'm trying to do is set up workshops and things that would be services that I'd be offering in that brick and mortar in the meantime, because several months later, with a bunch of stories that I could tell you with the property hunt, I'm done waiting for the home, and we'll start making some action, and then when it has a home, even better. But we'll talk more off the mic.
What's your character? If you follow third place 502 on Instagram.
Those page, there's nothing there.
Just follow her page on Instagram and she'll like updates and what she said. What was it? I seen it though. I see your hand, but I seen that in your purse. Yes.
You say you're doing workshops. Is this talk something that you workshop, or is this framework something that you send out or share with other people?
Do you share this talk with other people, or do you do talks and workshops? Is that what you?
Does she share this framework?
Can you share this framework?
With people like you and your organization, like absolutely. This is my first time kind of publicly speaking about it in a formal settings, but anybody who knows me has heard me like rant about this shit like my entire life. But yet, let you know.
That was another connected we on Instagram and we're talking about. If you.
People that take time to like you, that'll get right on there feeling all of the inside. But I can say you, they makes a big difference, and I know it a lot.
Yeah. So you guys know I had trouble with this, so I'm trying to repeat every damn word. How do I talk to my fucking kids who's on their phones all the time? And it's an addiction. How do you stop them, right? Is that yeah? How do you stop them? Or fucking kids all the time on their phone. It's a fucking addiction. And that bullshit. How do you stop them from that? Yeah. And I feel you because like when hold on, wait, we'll talk about it. But how do you stop your kids from being on their phone to do and be in these types of spaces?
I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I don't have the formal answers. I think what's Herbert Rice, bro. You're right. Shoot, this is a hard question. I think I'm at an odd advantage due to disadvantage. I also was raised by my grandparents who were born in like 1920, they're dead now. Well, as far as a millennial goes, I like missed a lot of the memos, and so I think I was able to absorb the real world first, and I didn't have devices, in high school, etc. When people were starting to get shit, I didn't get any of that, so I'm at an advantage. So I've experienced outside world, and I don't really comprehend people's choice to live on the inside, but it is an addiction, and literally the algorithms are made. I mean, there's documentaries that you could show them, but I think the best you can do is exposure, because those apps are made off of dopamine hits that just keep cycling. And once somebody experiences like actual real connection, actual real joy, it's like, oh God, I can't make an illicit substance reference, but it's the real deal is better, and I think people want to go, I know, some out. The real deal is better. So I don't know how old your kids are, if you have the power to like force them to come places with you still. But just start inviting them. I don't know. I don't have the answer if there are any like clinical psychologists in the room that have the right answer. But I would say exposure. They're adults. Well, I don't know. Tell them to be adults and have some self-control.
Any other questions about third places?
Oh,
Would you like handling this? Like, yes.
Oh yeah. What I do, many three days to report because that one we saw back up the 15. Heavy intersection, pre-call sea level or legislation, like we pass for your isn't you? Going back for it is all over the set. Amazed as by the is making it origin into the video.
Why, right?
I can't really snap, but it's happening. Like,
Please, you get it set. Oh, it's never great when you're talking about that is. They did all of what they do so much. So like, I couldn't make it in my hair or going instead of hey.
It's all good because I'm gonna give you the same spiel I give everybody that goes long-winded with not really a question but a long statement. It sounds like legislation and policy, right?
yeah. So
What do you feel about putting in place legislation and policy to implement third spaces and places? I did put a note in here because I got my own question, but
obviously I'm gonna try, but I mean, a place like Louisville, Kentucky, I think that we can't really count on it, unfortunately. And I know that like a lot of my progressive liberal friends are like, oh no, we gotta do whatever the best option is, but we can't wait for that. So like obviously yes, don't throw it out just because it's a weaker tool in the toolbox, but we can't wait on that. You're probably going to get more power if I can get people together that actually care about this stuff and our collective ability to make some of these changes. But for example, I live in Limerick, which is just west of Old Louisville. And originally when I was looking at the property, I was trying for Old Louisville specifically because I'm like, okay, the city center, God bless Carmichael's funds. I know they care about people, but they are directly serving people east of like where we are right now. I mean, west of where we are right now. So I wanted a spot that was like, okay, close enough and like pleasant enough that I could get their money, people's money from those neighborhoods, but then also close enough to everyone else that it wasn't super inaccessible, and also wasn't encroaching in such a way that I know that money's going to come in, and I don't want anybody to come in and be like seeing a whole block and be like, well, this is great. I'll take them all. So it's kind of a tricky situation that I'm trying to do, and that ramble is all just to say, all Louisville zoning is like we set up a circle of hell within the hell of zoning. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed and pushed, and I couldn't get any progress there. And so basically, if I did put any money in there, it would have gone straight down the drain because the city council would never let me do this kind of thing in the spot that I was in.
Does anybody have a question before I go through my notes and state that it's the questions? I'm gonna look at the slide like this.
There's a man over here in a beanie.
That is a question. What is it? You? Keep truthfully where I can see you because I can't see. Who we? Or no? Because I was on the mic. I was like, what the hell? I had talked a lot before.
Factories are kind of use figures like zipper.
And do you have a? Did you hear?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a list of directly at third places or the concept of third place?
No, but that's a really good idea. If you want to talk to me, and I don't want to just take the idea, but we could talk because that's a really good idea.
That's another one of those. Hey, follow me on Instagram at third place follow to the or at the third place or third place. I was supposed to say this.
Whatever, let's talk to me.
At third place, spell out properly, follow to. Now, my questions, if you guys don't mind. You kind of touched on one of my questions, which was the integrated mixed-use spaces. Do you already see integrated mixed-use spaces in the city that if we had enough people that care about integrated mixed-use spaces that were third places, that these type of people could support to put into legislation? Have you seen enough of those?
I see potential, but not the proper sort of place. So again, in more underserved quotation mark neighborhoods, we see a lot of, liquor stores and other businesses that are in and out, but not the kind of business you stick around with, mixed with like housing upstairs and stuff like that. And then of course you got like fucking Nulu and stuff, which Nulu is not a real thing, but it is now, that has this model. But if you don't have money, don't even try to open one of those listings, because you're gonna like have a heart attack, because it's like, I thought we lived in Louisville, Kentucky, not Los Angeles, California, where I fled from. So I think we have examples of possibilities on the one end, even though I'm not going to say a rant about Nulu. And then on the other end, we have the spaces physically, but not being used in the way that I'm trying to envision them. But the possibility is there, which is why I bitched that you know about them.
And did anybody else have a question? Because we are at our limit. So, everybody put your hands together for Brittni. Thank you. And for all of you guys and everybody that's here, thank you all so much for even sitting with me and supporting me through this Nerd Night journey, because honestly, it has been a roller coaster ride since my friend passed away, and then taking over this and trying to handle it by myself. It really has been tough. I know I'm smiling and I look like shit's cool, but it's just fucking crazy. Because I do live my whole life. I do have my own business. I do a lot of social work out there. I'm always out in the shit. Come on, don't think, man. Coachella don't need time. But it's been really, really tough. Thank you so much. It's been really, really tough trying to keep this together and make this run functionally and have people still come out and have really good speakers, knowing that I wanted to be in Lexington and then also still do the things that I do here. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That being said, January, last Thursday in January, we already have speakers that are lined up. There is a committee that I'm building that's going to help manage this, but for real, I'm Charlie Myers to Lexington and work with Lexington. So until next year, peace, love, everybody. Be on Instagram, be on Facebook, follow, share, and do all the things. Good night.
For you,